Guess what? I am so excited to be a mom one day. But not just any mom. Oh no. I aspire to be the coolest mom on the block. Hosting all of the neighborhood potlucks, having the coolest swimming pool and game room for the kids, and doing it all while rocking the most awesome pair of mom jeans. Okay, maybe not the mom jeans part, but book club will always be at my house, and my kids will have the most epic birthday parties. However, I also want to create meaningful, happy, and healthy relationships with my kids. I know this isn't going to be easy, and that the journey of parenting is not a walk in the park, but I am ready to put in the work and learn about early childhood development and how to address challenging behaviors in children should they arise. So today, we are going to crawl our way into understanding the causes of challenging behavior. Then, we're going to go on the most epic play date and learn about how to effectively address said behaviors. And lastly, we are going to drop the kids off at preschool, where they will learn how to manage their own emotions. To crawl our way into understanding the causes of challenging behavior, let's examine the advice of Dr. Mary F. Strada-Pallou, Associate Professor at United Arab Emirates University. Dr. F. Strada-Pallou is a specialist in inclusive education and has published multiple academic articles researching emotional and behavioral disabilities in children. In her book, Working with Children from Theory to Practice, Dr. F. Strada-Pallou defines challenging behavior as culturally abnormal behavior at such a frequency, intensity, or duration that the physical safety of others is likely to be placed in serious jeopardy, or behavior that can result in a person being denied access to common public facilities. Major patterns in challenging behavior include aggression, destruction, and even self-injury. And oftentimes, these are a result of limited verbal communication skills. This inability to express oneself is frustrating for a child who does not already have much control over their own life. Further limiting what they do have control over makes a child feel angry and helpless. Dr. F. Strada-Pallou continues by claiming that more immediate causes of challenging behavior can be broken down into 4 main categories. These include health, change, attention, and escape. Underlying medical conditions should always be ruled out first, as they require the immediate attention of a medical professional. Next, parents should ask themselves whether their child may need to come to terms with any major changes recently. This can include moving to a new school or home, the loss of a loved one, or an addition to the family. The last 2 categories, attention and escape, examine a child's relationship with attention and asks whether they're actively seeking or avoiding attention. So now that we know how to identify challenging behavior in kids, we can consider ourselves big boys and girls who are ready to go on our very first play date with none other than Dr. F. Strada-Pallou, who has multiple strategies for us on how to effectively address challenging behaviors in children. These strategies include reinforcement of appropriate, other, and incompatible behavior. Let's use a tantrum-prone child doing homework as an example. Let's say this child is able to complete all of their homework without a single sign of aggression or destruction. This child can be rewarded by their parents through reinforcement of appropriate behavior. And the reward can include anything from a high five or a good job. However, let's say the child maybe doesn't complete all of their homework, but they still show signs of appropriate behavior. Parents can use the strategy of reinforcement of other behavior. Even though the child didn't stay on task the whole time, they still didn't resort back to their tantrums. However, Let's say the child didn't complete any of their homework, but instead they sat down quietly and took some deep breaths. Parents can use the strategy of reinforcement of incompatible behavior to reward this child for not resorting back to their tantrums. Even though the child didn't complete any of their assignment, they still showed positive emotional intelligence, which for any parents is a win in their book. Parents who seek to manage the challenging behaviors of their children should choose just one of these strategies and implement it routinely. For a child who is able to complete all of their homework doesn't need to be rewarded after completing half of an assignment, just as a child who is rewarded once is likely to not stop their challenging behavior. It's important to recognize challenging behavior and to address it effectively. However, it's equally as important to choose the strategy that best fits your child and to implement it consistently. So, now that we've gotten back from the most epic play date, it's time to drop the kids off at preschool, where they're going to learn how to effectively manage their own emotions. But how can a preschool or a daycare classroom specifically meet the needs of children with aggressive tendencies? Two elementary school counselors, Rachel Yagarishi and Twila Houtmaker, have an answer. Their Circle of Courage is an assessment tool that allows students to use the 4 categories of belonging, mastery, independence, and generosity to spark conversation about their own skills and strengths, and use those skills and strengths to work towards their goals and improve their weaknesses. One case study involving the Circle of Courage examines a boy named Sean, who experienced uncontrollable episodes of anger. After 3 to 4 sessions with the Circle of Courage, working through it with a counselor, Sean was able to improve greatly. His parents marveled at his ability to articulate how he was going to use his skills to achieve his goals. And he took the circle home with him to serve as a visual and written reminder of his achievements. The Circle of Courage was able to tackle Sean's problem at its core, his limited verbal communication skills. The introduction of the Circle of Courage into classrooms across the nation will help kids just like Sean be able to learn how to express themselves and learn how to avoid their challenging behavior. So now that we've just gotten back from preschool, it's time to tell our parents about all of the totally awesome stuff we did today. Or, in our case, to tell them about what we've learned. We learned that misbehavior is not just spontaneous. It doesn't just appear out of nowhere, and that children need consistent affirmation in order to improve. We also learned that in order to solve a problem, you need to tackle it at its core and be willing to implement it consistently in order to achieve your goal. And lastly, we learned about a tool that uses a child's strengths and skills to motivate them to achieve greatness. Now, I know that parenting is not going to be a walk in the park. I know that my children aren't going to be perfect, and neither will I. But I'm willing to use my knowledge of how to address challenging behaviors in children to aid my parenting. And I encourage others to do the same. Because when we come together and teach our children about how to have a positive emotional intelligence, we create a world that is not only safer, but happier. Thank you.